Hi everyone, it's Jen again. I'm here again with another weekly update for Otomejam. We have finished up our 5th week, and I spent most of the week just writing. Echo Berry worked on the GUI, and that's probably going to be most of what I'm going to be updating until launch. So I'm going to be answering a request today on how to make interactable objects in a scene, which is basically just going to be using image buttons. I don't usually like to do these types of tutorials because, to be honest, 99% of my development is just writing regular words story and creating art assets. That's probably like 10% of that. And once you set up your systems, you don't really spend that much time programming anymore, and so I don't remember a lot of the syntax like off the top of my head. I just don't do enough programming that once I figure something out, I'll just go back and look at what I did before, and I'll just like copy and paste stuff, or I'll just like have to refresh myself, like, oh, how does that screen language go again? Like, what order do you put that? Do you have commas? Do you have parentheses? Do you have quotations around these things? It's not something that I usually work with enough to actually like retain in my day-to-day life, so I'll be completely transparent with that. I'm going to try to just approach this in the most simple way possible. So let me go ahead and just dive into that. So in our game, let me go ahead and just load another file before we go through the intro. In our game, we have these interactive image buttons. In this case, they're used for icons, for interacting with different elements of the game. Why do I keep pressing back instead of close? Accessing different menus, doing inventory, and doing the mini game. Those sorts of things are all done with image buttons. That's an image button 2 right there, that little mini game. These little hovered images here are also image buttons. So some of them can just be used for like inspecting, some of them can be used for opening other scenes or labels where you do other types of stuff. Some of them are for, you know, jumping to other labels that involve other types of activities, flagging variables, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of things that you can do anytime you want the player to click on something. You can pretty much make it an image button. There are other ways of doing it, such as using hotspots. I find that to be kind of an outdated way of doing things. I can't really think of any scenario that I would rather do a hotspot than just do an image button these days. But there are other tutorials out there online if that's an approach that you want to try. So in the case of making just a scene with things that you can click on, let's go ahead and exit this project and start from scratch with something really simple. So we're going to start out with our actual like images. We are going to have a background image that's just going to be the walls and the floor, basically. We're going to have an image of the bed. And this bed is going to have 2 variations. It's going to have one version of it where it has no outline, and then we're going to have a hover version of it that has an outline to let the player know that, hey, I'm clickable, you should interact with me. These are going to be saved as 2 separate images, and you are going to want to save them in a format where you can preserve the transparency, this having no background. If you were to export this as, like, say, a PNG, it's going to automatically make a white background because it does not support transparency. So what will it look like if you save this as a PNG? Hello. I don't know why you're not just letting me select this. Okay. It'll look like this. It'll have this box around it. It's funny because if you've actually been around for as long as I have, I remember games like Oregon Trail and all the little wagon scenes where the wagon was being pulled. The background was black, and that was because they didn't have a format that supported transparency back then. So everything like the wagon art sprite was surrounded by a black box, so they just put it on a black background so that you wouldn't be able to see the box around the wagon cart. But thankfully nowadays we have formats that support transparency, so we can use that. PNG or .webp. I went ahead and declared my images here. You can also declare them in the screen, but when you're starting to work in projects where you might have like multiple folders nested in multiple folders to organize all your hundreds of images, sometimes just declaring them here makes it simpler. So we have our room again, that's just the 4 walls, and then we have our 2 different bed variations, one where it's just going to be the bed, and then one where we've got a white outline around it so that players can see that it's something that they can click on. Let's go ahead and open up with showing the room. And let's make a screen for our bed. I'm going to say show screen. We have to make the screen, but I'm just going to put that there so that we know that we want that to show up too. So, screen, and this is going to be bed. You do have to make it in a screen in order to have it overlay and be overlay your background and have it clickable, interactable. It's not just a stationary like image sprite. But you can put multiple screens. You can put multiple image buttons in one screen. So if you had a room that had a bunch of things that you can choose to click on, such as we have in our bedroom scene, that has a bunch of buttons all in one screen, so that when you show that one screen, it brings up all those images at once. Let me go ahead and bring up the script for that so you can see. So you can see that all the images are declared at the beginning. Why are we such a cramped up box here? Oh, sorry. All the images are declared here at the end. And then the screen here has got all these image buttons that once you call this one screen, it's going to show all these things. And you can make these image buttons conditional too, so they might only show up depending on if the player has flagged something in the game. But we're not going to get into all that right now. We're just going to make our image button. And we're going to say the idle image is that bed idle, and we're going to say the hover image is going to be the bed hover. And then we are going to give it a position, because, well, I'll show you. If we don't give it a position, it's just going to automatically align it to the upper corner of the screen. It's just going to make it 0, 0, 0x and 0y position. You can either position this by pixels if you have a very precise placement of these items on your screen. But in this case, because I know I just want it to kind of be in the general midpoint, let's just say we're going to put it in the middle of the x-axis, and we're going to put it a little bit below the middle of the y-axis, so a little bit below the center height of the screen. So when we refresh that, that looks about good. And let's give it an action. Whoops. When you click on it, I want it to tell the player that they're going to sleep. So we're going to have it jump to a sleep label. And I'll make a label here to... can't type. Sleep. You go to sleep. Okay. Let's see how that looks. You can see we have the hover when we click over it. When we click on it, we jump to the label, you go to sleep. Now let's say we want to add some other kind of, you know, I don't know, indicator. Let's say we just want to add a variable or something. And let's say we're working with an image that maybe we don't have it all broken down into parts. So let's say I want just like this window. Oops, I need to be on the background. Let's go ahead and create a new image. And let's say we have this window here, and we want to make it so every time the player clicks on it, they get some kind of stat increase, or the game wants to keep track of it because we want as an objective for them to like somehow click on this thing. Let's go ahead and get rid of our background, and we're gonna go ahead and save a copy of this. Into our images, and again we're going to make it a PNG, and this time we're going to name it, we'll call it window idle. Okay, and then let's go ahead and give it an outline, and we'll name this one window hover. Okay, and let's go ahead and add this image button to our screen here. We'll call it image button. Let's declare our images here. I'm gonna go ahead and just copy this and say window, and we'll say window. Image. Window. Title. Window. Title. And then actually we can just copy all this here too, and we can just say, instead of bed, we can say window. We can say window, and this is going to be this time we probably are going to want to use positioning because it's going to be more finicky. And let's say action is going to be just wanted to give us like a click window. So let's like make another, let's make a new file. Oh my goodness. Excuse me, we're going to call this click, oh, I can't type, click window .rpy. Oh, come on, image button game, yes. There's got to be like an easier way to make new files with this Visual Studio. I don't know why it feels like you have to do extra steps. Okay, so in this label, we're going to have a, let's say we have a variable that's going to be, I'm just going to call it clicks right now. And it's going to keep track of how many clicks we do. And I'm going to just say that like, hello cat. We're just going to say that it's going to be clicks +1 every time you click on this window. And let's say, yeah, let's just keep it at that for right now. And I can't type. Even when I copy paste stuff, I can't type. Look at that. That is so funny looking. You'd think that the fact that it's in white instead of like giving me the blue okay would like tell me. Okay, so like we're pretty close, but see how we're a little bit off, so I gotta go in with my pixels. Let's close this old window. I gotta go in with my pixels and I gotta raise that a little bit. Let's do that like 9. No, I went in the wrong direction somehow. Or am I not refreshing right? Why is that not like any more off? Okay. Wow, we were just like really close to the top. What to save? Alright, I think that's close enough. I can't see the overlap. So now I have this. I never did that. Oh, okay. So this is where you start getting into I can solve this problem in a few ways. It's basically returning, but I want it to not return to where it's going to end the game. So I think I want to make this that way. It still advances. Let me also do this for myself so that I know how many clicks I'm at. Because I think it's still advancing. Oh, goodness. Do everything but. Okay, so as long as I don't click anywhere else, it doesn't advance because I have that modal true on. It's not going to advance the story as long as I just only click on this. Oh my goodness, if I click on this, yeah, it does, it goes to that other, it jumps to that other label. But if I made it a call statement, it would go back to the main, it would go back to where it was. Okay, so I think that generally speaking, it gives you a good idea of like the stuff you can do. One last thing I will show is like, let's say you don't want to show a hover. Let's say you just want to have an area to click on where you don't want the player to know you can click on it because it's kind of like a secret. You can do this as a hotspot. Or you can also do this and go back to our base. Like let's say I want to make like a hidden trapdoor or something that I just want to be like an Easter egg for them to discover. Let's go ahead and just make a random bad looking shape. And I'm gonna, whoops, I'm gonna make it a new layer first. And we're gonna copy that to a new layer. Put it in our clipboard. Create, B, turn off our background. And let's save a copy. And let's make it PNG. And we'll just call this trap idle. Okay. And let's go ahead and declare it here. copy and paste because I can't be trusted with spelling the word image. And we'll call it trap. Trap idle, and then we're gonna go ahead and again, I'm gonna do this as an align though. I don't really have a precise place I need to make it. I'm not gonna give it a hover image. Oop, get rid of that. And then I'm gonna have the action be jump trap. Okay, so then I'm gonna make another label where I'm gonna say secret trap. Okay. So let's see what that looks like. So we don't want that there. Let's move it. Let's move it over. Move it over a little more. I don't really want it overlapping. Yeah, that's okay. So when I click on it, but we don't want it to show. Let's go ahead and make it transform. And we're going to say alpha. Okay. And then we're going to say this at, oh, we got to have this have a name. Let's name it. Oh, let's name it disappear. I don't want to use some other special word that's going to be confused about. Transform at disappear. So now we can't see our trapdoor. Oops, let me refresh this. So we can't see our trapdoor, but it's still there. Because if I click on the area, then it gives me that secret trap thing. And we still have our window. And we still have our bed. Okay. I hope you find that useful. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the description below. I'll try to find a hotspot video that I can link to. And yeah, good luck with your projects. And don't forget to enjoy the process. Bye now.